Call the Washington County Commissioners, call the meeting order. I want to say a pledge and a prayer.
It's your choice, if you want.
Bubba, would you say a prayer?
Sure.
Everybody please stand.
Pledge allegiance
to
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this beautiful day that you've blessed us with. As we move forward here in our meeting, let us go into it with clear minds and do what's best for the county. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
I did it all, Phil.
I couldn't see what was going on. Everybody's back was to me, so I was like,
I think we all went like this.
yeah, I was like, I don't know what we're doing.
We had a thing here a while back, and a woman said that we should say prayer before the pledge.
Oh,
So that's what we were doing.
sorry.
And we've been confused ever since. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, anything, updates, commissioners, that you want to share?
I don't think we got anything this meeting. We got the appointment of Devin tomorrow.
I was just approving their agreement.
With, who is it?
Structurepoint.
Okay, so American Structurepoint, I believe you guys have revised the scope and fee to reflect taking out some of those key components of the zoning and working with another consulting firm, the Hoosier planning consulting firm. So you've, adjusted the scope and now you're ready to sign their agreement. Is that where you're at now?
Yeah.
Do we have any pricing from them?
Yeah,
Do we?
it's on the agreement.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so I believe that plus the zoning is a little over $75,000 by about $400. So that's the only amount that the county has to provide towards
Okay.
the project.
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay.
I did get an email from Connor Barnett, who is Hoosier Planning, and he has a rough draft ready, and he would like to meet with a couple members of the Plan Commission and Travis to make sure that we're within our bounds and we're all on the same sheet of music as to what we want to see for the county. Yeah.
Great.
That's not been scheduled yet, just got the email this morning, but probably in the next week or two.
So as you'll recall, the last meeting that we had, Matt from American Structurepoint was here. That's who's going to be primarily our contact with American Structurepoint moving forward. So they will advise us, help us go through this planning process, and they may or may not be able to make every meeting, but the meetings that they are not able to be at either will have homework or they'll have some sort of direction, some talking points for us to go through. So I expect this planning process to, we'll work with Structurepoint very closely. I think in the interim, it's really going to be that data and information gathering. So whatever points of data you'd like to see. So maybe you want like economic data, jobs data, housing data, health outcomes, anything like that. We can make a request of them and they can pull those data sheets together for us so that we can have a good understanding of where we're at, where we're starting at.
Can we not use as a template the old comprehensive plan, because that's got an awful lot of information in it as far as demographics and history of the county, and the only thing it wouldn't include would be the elected officials' goals for the county, and with public input also. Would that not be a good idea just to, I'm assuming he's got a copy of our old comprehensive plan. That way he has an idea of what we want. as you just said, most of that is just updating a bunch of statistics, because we have had a new census since the old one was printed. So it'd be a matter of revising numbers and things like that.
I think that would be helpful to send them.
Yep.
Kyra, the plans that you've sent out to the groups, I believe like the housing study, and can we send those, would you care to send those over to Matt with Structurepoint?
Mhm.
Okay. Todd, I think that's a good idea.
No sense reinventing the wheel.
Especially our history hasn't really changed, but we might review it, you know, before they put it in there. Are there any points of data or consideration that you think we should request from them to do kind of like a deeper dive on? You know, is educational attainment or anything in particular that you're thinking of?
Not at this point, I don't.
Anything?
There is one thing that, and I know we don't really have the funds to do it right now. Of course, we haven't looked too hard, but there's something that, and you'll have to help me out here, Keely, because I don't know what the proper terminology is, but they did it over at Madison, and this came up in a meeting, at an RDA meeting, and I thought it was really, really interesting. In addition to all this information, you know, some things we know, some things we don't know. Madison got hooked up with some company, and it was pretty pricey. It was like, I think it was over $10,000. But they hired some company to come in and get on. They have a way, technology of getting information from, say, someone who comes into Washington County, and if they're in this county, they can ping their cell phone, and they can find out who this person is, their home address, in other words, where they live now. And what this data did, and I thought was really interesting, it was real eye-opening for them. They found out that they have people coming from all over the Midwest, not necessarily just on vacation, but we got a group of people in this country now, not necessarily baby boomers, that are semi-retired. Whether retired or not, they come in, they like to travel, and they just like to go see historical places, or, you know, people are curious by nature, and they took all this information and did a lot of improvements and things at Madison to accommodate this group of people who, you know, they may only be here for 6 hours during the day, but there are a lot of people traveling across country here, and with proximity of the, I know a lot of people go to French Lick, West Baden, and depending on where they're coming from, they may or may not drive through Salem, but I would like to maybe request that American Structurepoint look into that and see, you know, if that's something that's worth us doing maybe.
I think it's a great idea. I can't remember what the specific technology was called, but they basically geotag somebody. Like you said, they kind of ping someone, they set the parameters. One of the places I worked, we did a strategic marketing campaign where we were able to use the same sort of technology and use targeted advertising to try to get people from outside of the community, once they hit the community, sharing different information, marketing material with them. So I would think that uses similar technology to be able to do that. And I think the data they gathered was incredibly useful. They could kind of show where people were spending their money too. So kind of showing where that person went while they were in the community. And that can help even communicate with our local businesses on things that they might be able to offer or take advantage of.
I think they call it Placer.
That sounds familiar.
Call
Does
it
that sound
what?
right?
Placer, Placer.
Placer.
Yeah, we talked about it the first time. I saw
Yeah, we did.
Mhm.
Crap out. Turn it off. Leave my phone.
I think that could also show, that would also be good to show what time of the year that maybe you get some more foot travel or foot traffic through.
Yep.
You know, whether it's during Old Settlers Days, is it, you know, to see, if it's possible to do something like that, I could see that being valuable as to the time of year too. And we're getting to where we have more of these little festival things too. You
Yeah.
know, kinda like the Mosier's doing their Brick Street thing, and, you know, which over time, if they keep it up, will keep expanding. That's gonna get out too, and, so it might help to know when they're coming in as to, and then we could kind of pinpoint, you know, what's bringing them here.
Mm-hmm. That's a great idea. If we don't have the data now, but if we could just put our hats on and just think, what are the things in our community right now that do draw people from outside of the community? What are some of the top, you know, maybe 3 to 10 things that you would say are points of attraction here? Let's start with Old Settlers Days.
I think Old Settlers Days pulls people in. I think there's a lot, you know, I think there's a lot of people that follow festivals.
I would say the Pekin 4th of July.
4th of July, the middle.
Yep.
Yeah.
This big Native American thing, I think it's still gonna go on this fall.
What is that?
It's they're having it over here at the fairgrounds, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's
Is that something that's happened before?
No.
no, it's the first
They-
time, I think I saw
they,
something about that.
Where they had been having this, the little town had been too accommodating, and this is indigenous people's tribe of Midwest or something, but it's Native American, indigenous peoples gathering, and they have a big to-do up here, they're gonna have it up here. And it's a 3-day event, and they contact the schools, and first day on Friday, they bring all the school kids in to educate them on, you know, indigenous people, various things. And then, second day is senior citizens. It's kinda like a mini fair type thing, but they'll be camped out up there. They'll set up teepees and things like that, just to educate people on
Kinda like,
Sounds
Native
awesome.
the
American,
Maple Syrup Festival that,
Okay.
Native American
Awesome.
what
culture.
do they call it out on Gearson Hall? What's their names?
Sugar Bush.
Yeah, Sugar Bush.
Mike Goring, yeah, or
Yeah,
Leanne.
yeah. Well, and there's people that come from out of town to that every year.
Yeah, I've heard of several people, they're like, oh, have you been there this year? Big thing of syrup.
Yeah, so some of these little things that I guess we hear about all the time that maybe we've been to once or twice and we don't know. You know, there are
Yes.
some people that actually follow that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. But he liked this guy was originally from Salem, and then,
Okay.
I think he even went to Salem schools, and then he moved away, after high school, and then, he liked Salem because he knows we have a fairly big fairgrounds, and then also, we're centrally located for these indigenous peoples that, you know, from all over Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia's, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, the Midwest, basically.
Will they be staying there, or will they also need like hotel accommodations?
Depends on what tribe they're from. I don't know, honestly.
Okay. Well, I just think if
I'm
that
sure-
is,
yeah, I'm
if
sure
that is a
some-
situation where we need to take a closer look at that.
Yeah.
I don't know how big it's going to be.
You remember what the dates on that is?
Not yet, I
Have
hadn't
we found
talked,
it yet?
I was trying to find it.
I hadn't
Seen
talked
something
to
about it this morning.
Rose about it. It seemed like it was, I thought it was like the first week of September. No, maybe October.
Seems like that's the time of year here that like there's just a lot of activity going on.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's fair to say that people in Indiana don't like to do things at the hottest part of the year.
Yeah.
Right?
You know?
Unless it's water sports.
Mhm.
Did you see that on Facebook or something?
Yeah.
I don't
It's on
remember
there this
seeing
morning.
anything about it.
Oh, is that right?
That's why it sounds so
Would it be on
interesting
the
to me, because I'm,
fairgrounds or fairs page?
No, I forget, it was just a,
Or W?
no, I seen a post on there somewhere.
Randy Lee, would he post something about it, since doesn't he
I
still
forget who
kinda
posted it now.
over the
Well,
fairground
when
stuff?
you find it, send
I'm
it to
trying
us.
to find it. Give me a second.
Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I wonder what other community they went to that didn't work out.
It was over in Ohio somewhere.
Any other events? And maybe not even events, but just, you know,
Well,
Speedway.
Beck's Mill,
yeah.
Speedway,
Oh, yes.
oh yeah, definitely the
Speedway.
Speedway.
people there every weekend for something, one of the two places, Bear Street.
Either the drag strip or,
So I'm gonna put cornucopia on here.
yeah.
Anything else?
Don't forget these, we got a few wineries scattered out about the county.
Mm-hmm.
That Hunter's Ridge, and there's a couple out, isn't there some out by, out in Posey Township?
Wineries seem to come and go, is the thing,
Mm-hmm.
You don't know?
so I'm not sure where they're
You
all
don't go?
at anymore.
There used to be like a vineyard out there
Yeah. Off of 150.
on Hardensburg Road, like Sinking Creek
Yeah.
Road, before it gets to Hardensburg Road.
Maybe they closed. Maybe, like Lori says, some of them kind of come and go.
It seems like Hunter's Ridge has been around a while though.
Yeah.
They go outside of the county to market the wine.
I need to take a call,
Okay.
excuse me. Hello?
This might sound interesting, but I don't know if this aligns really, but I would say that Ace Hardware in Hardensburg has a lot of traffic. And they seem to draw a lot of people.
Yep.
And is that the general store? Is that what the general store is called there? Does anyone know?
Hardensburg General Store.
Is that the same thing?
It goes.
I'll also put Old Mill Canoe too. Every time I'm there, it seems like everyone else is from outside of the county.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anything else? Okay, are there any, so these are all the things that we think people could try to come to visit here, are there any points of attraction that, like, as a local, is something that is used often, or something that would make a list, like somebody within our own community is using? Like, for example, I'm thinking of the chili cook-off.
Repeat your question.
Yeah, I'm not understanding it either.
Okay, so from the list that we just put together was list of places that could bring people from outside of the community into the community. Are there any activities or points of interest that are gathering spaces for the people that live in the community that may or may not attract people from the outside? So I'm thinking of like the chili cook-off or
The fair.
the fair, you know, different things like that.
I think there's horse shows here sporadically, don't they have
Okay.
open horse shows here every once in a while?
Yeah.
They have that, turkey Thanksgiving Day walk, 5K.
Okay.
Ricky's,
Yeah,
Ricky Richardson,
yeah.
yeah.
Before you eat.
Of course.
Relay for Life.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Relay for Life.
Has that been reinvigorated, or is it still, has it,
I think it's still,
okay.
It's, I think their volunteers are, their volunteer pool's dwindling a little bit.
is it?
Yeah.
It used to be big.
I
It
don't
used
know
to be
what's happened.
huge, and then it seemed to really take a dip, and I didn't know if it
They
had.
moved it out to
West
West
Washington,
Washington, and I
yeah.
don't know what's happened out there. We used to have some folks always wanted to have a team at work, and
Mm-hmm.
they kind of went on their own.
Speaking of West Washington, they have like a carnival day or some sort of like family fun day that they do out there that I think a lot of people go to.
And you have the Campbellsburg Days.
That's on down
The
the first
hotel?
Saturday, isn't it?
Isn't that what it's called?
The hoedown?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it that normally on the first Saturday of June?
I think so.
Yeah. And I mean,
Strawberry
I don't know
Festival.
how big of a draw it is, but I know, I've been to it a couple times. It's something fun to
Mhm.
do.
That's
It
on
is.
the board.
I also put the dinner bell on here.
Yeah.
Really. I actually love taking people from out of town there. That's my favorite. Also put the walking trail, the safe routes to school one.
Well, and eventually we're gonna have the railroad trail through.
Yeah.
But that's gonna happen with several counties, I guess, over time.
It is.
We also
I
have the
believe
walking
they-
trail out at Lake
Celinda.
Celinda.
Yes.
And of course, there's several trails around Elk Creek Lake and Delaney and that kind of spiders out all over the county, really.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a lot of people, I go to Delaney, and there's a lot of people from out of town hikers that just end up at Delaney,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
It's
from
part
out
of
of state
Knobs,
and
is
stuff.
it, it's part of the Knobstone Trail, or
Mhm.
right beside it is Knobstone Trail, right?
Well, I've never walked it, so I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of times you'll see out of state cars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's avid hikers that go and have their backpacks and they, you know, they just sleep along the way and they may do a 3 or 4 day thing and I know Delaney Park is one of the places they can like park at
Mm-hmm. Right.
and take off, so.
And with Monon South, there will be several different points where you could park. So I know Salem might have 2 different
Really?
places, yeah. And in the incorporated towns, so Campbellsburg, Pekin, and Salem will each have it paved, of whatever's inside the incorporated boundaries. Outside of that will be like crushed limestone or something.
You're talking about
The rails
the
to trail,
Monon.
yeah, the Monon South Trail. With these sort of amenities, specifically the trails, are there, do you feel like there are, you know, safety concerns that could be addressed? I know I've walked at Elk Creek before, and I mean, sometimes there are people there that are maybe not in the right headspace or intoxicated, and I know just for myself, I have felt unsafe trying to go out there and walk. It just depends where you're at, what time I mean, it was actually just a normal day, but are there things that can be done to ensure the safety of our trails, especially as the Monon South Trail comes? We're going to get more people. Are there things that we can do locally to make sure that these places stay safe?
I think everybody's thought about that, because you're gonna have a lot of hikers and stuff that nobody, you know, that are just, like I said, avid hikers on those Monon trails eventually. The majority of them are gonna be people that are really into the hiking part of it, because, I mean, it's not something you'd do for just a quarter of a mile and leave, but
Right.
I think everybody's thought about, you know, is it gonna bring in, you know, is there gonna be homeless stations around them, or, you know?
I
some
don't think
concerns.
anybody at the state level has thought about that.
Oh, I think they've thought about it, but
I guarantee you they don't have an answer.
nobody
Except
ever thinks to
Local.
wait till it
Select your
happens and
local
then we'll
people.
deal with it type of thing, I would say.
Hmm.
Is that the way kind of the world?
Yeah, something bad will have to happen before anything's done.
I mean, honestly, before they got the, the trail really cleared out at Celinda, probably 4 or 5 years ago, because now there's quite a few people here, Spalding and some of them that go out there and actually spend time
Right.
cleaning it out. There was one time I went out there that there was some people on it that made me feel really uncomfortable, and I finally turned around and left. So, I mean, that's gonna happen at times, now that they've got it cleared out to where more people use it. You know, probably the more people that are on it, the less that's gonna happen, but
That seems to be when it is the most concerning, or when the most sketchy people are out, is when there aren't a lot of people. Because I've
Right.
even had that in town, like even at the walking trail by the school, where I have felt uncomfortable enough to where I either walk super fast, try to get my kids back in the car, and that's in town.
Well, we have a new law in the state, and I suggest every woman start taking advantage of it. You can carry a gun.
that's a new law? I thought we could always carry a
I
gun.
don't think you have to have a license now.
Well, maybe that's true, I was gonna say, I thought we could always carry one. I didn't know that we were,
Didn't know women were excluded from carrying
Yeah.
guns.
I think there's been some problems at the, at the walking trail in the past, but I think it was more kids. I know that they put up the lamps at one point, and then within 2 months, all the tops of them were ripped off, and I think that was mainly kids, but there's supposedly cameras down there now, is
Are
there
there?
not?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know, usually during the day it seems like a pretty safe place, but I think kind of in the evening hours, it seems like there could be people coming out. So I definitely think that would, I imagine that would be a question for Structurepoint though. Are there things that local communities have done to ensure safety of trails, especially when new trails come into communities? Did you find
I
it?
can't imagine how they're gonna police them.
It'll
I mean-
pop up again.
I know.
I mean,
Keep
unless they
talking
do
about it,
cameras,
so
you know, do trail cams or
Mhm.
something like that, but then you have to, if nobody's gonna monitor them, I mean,
Sheriff's Department, maybe we can get them police.
oh yes, that's exactly what they need to do, is to,
Well, volunteer work.
Yeah, right.
Okay, anything else?
I don't have anything.
Okay, one last, I think, conversation topic would be opportunities that we see. Lori had alluded to this a moment ago about Rails to Trail being an opportunity. Are there any things that you see for the next, I don't know, 10 to 15 years that could be a potential opportunity for the community?
10 to 15 years.
What are you thinking, Phil?
Well, we don't need to think about 10 or 15 years as what we do right now. And that's the main thing. And we've talked about the rails, trails and all that. But there's probably gonna be segments opened up when this thing starts, and that's what we need to publicize. When the section gets open of how we endorse the walking, and whether it's a 1 mile walk or a 2 mile walk or a 3 mile walk or a 5 mile walk.
Or whether it's a heavy walk or mild or,
Yeah, and I mean, you
Yeah.
can come in and you can start a point at the Monon and walk towards Cattlesburg or Pekin and, you know, I mean,
that,
you're gonna get certain people, like, right now, Harrison County, everybody's going to Palmar and walk on Buffalo Trace, and that's where everybody's going. And then the next one is down to Corden right now, they've got a walking trail down there. And people from around here are driving to Corden, and then they come up and visit the restaurants afterwards. We're not gonna do this whole thing in one segment, it's gonna have to be done in spurts. And
that's a good idea though, to think about, and I don't know how much control we have over this or what we can do, but it could be a way to help police it maybe a little bit if you did say, like this 2 mile stretch here is comparable with a walking trail. And then, you know, if you could have signage or something like on our website or something that says, okay, you go from point 2 to point 8, this needs to be an avid hiker because you're gonna have some really steep areas, blah, blah, blah. That could help too.
And it's also gonna help your law enforcement and also your EMS.
Yeah,
Because at that point, there's gonna be points to where if a heart attack does happen, the EMS will know how to get there, the
Yeah.
sheriff will get there. But we're gonna have to do it in sections as it goes.
yeah, that might be a good idea, is that there are points and there's,
All that information, when it does open, will be on the DNR website. They're the ramrods behind this.
yeah, but do we not want to incorporate that into some of our own,
Yeah, we could just have a link on the county website that says Monon Trail that would link it to theirs. Yeah, I don't think that'd be difficult.
points of interest for Washington County or something like that?
Yeah, because I think we do have like Beck's Mill and several other places on the county website too. That would be a good one to add.
Yeah.
I like the idea of having like markers though, or wayfinding signage for people, so that could be helpful. Has Radius said anything to the commissioners about their plans for signage on the trail?
That's it. Has what?
Has Radius said anything to the commissioners about wayfinding signage on the trail?
No, the DNR's taking care of all that signage.
That doesn't tell anything about it. The thing I saw on Facebook, it showed a whole list of itinerary type thing,
Okay.
but that's it.
Bubba had found the Indigenous People of Tribes gathering, and it is August 9th.
Through the 11th, yeah.
Are
Is
the
that
kids
a
back at
Facebook
school?
page?
It was on Facebook, but I don't know who posted it. And I was just scrolling through there this morning and I seen it because it was at the fairgrounds and I live right across the road, so I was kind of wondering what was going on. So I looked through it just quickly.
So that's an open to the public, when they pop up their tents, you can go visit them.
Yeah, I assume.
I think they are going to charge
Admission?
admission fee, I believe. But I don't think it's gonna be real salty. I think he said $8 or something.
opportunities. I would say that the school systems present an opportunity, and, I don't know if that's them kind of like focusing in on what they're really good at and having just different options in each of the schools, but I definitely know that West Washington, and it sounds like East Washington, continue to do things that go above and beyond what they're required to do. So I would say the school systems could be potential opportunities, and whether that means we're attracting new residents to go to the schools, or they're just providing better educational opportunities.
Did you, that little truck of yours,
They don't even have a horn.
doesn't need one.
Shell people.
Another opportunity for the area, I know that housing is continuing to come up from, Louisville. It's just continuing to come this way. So housing, while it could be a challenge, is also an opportunity for us in our community.
And it wouldn't hurt to have more industry.
Yep.
Somehow, some way.
Do you feel, Doug, with your role, do you feel like the workforce is adequately trained, or do you feel like that continues to be a challenge in hiring new people?
It is a challenge. You can't find anybody today. Everybody's having the same problem. The workforce is not there. But I tell you where we're finding a lot of trouble. There is no training. Kids today don't know how to do nothing. You can take it for what it's worth. But back in the old days, when they done it, I don't know what you say, whether it's common sense. We don't teach shop in schools. You lost that. But the workforce today doesn't have the mechanical aptitude to know how to do anything. And it's not just a Washington County problem, it's everywhere.
They lack, there's a real lack of life skills.
They are.
Just basic life skills is what I've noticed.
We see it every day. I imagine you do too.
And some of it, I think, is, it's just the change of the times too, but I think, like he said, they've taken some of those skills, like, just for instance, when I was growing up, my dad taught me how to change oil, check my antifreeze, stuff like that. Nowadays, people just pull into a car lot and just do it,
Right.
And I admit I do that too, but still, they've taken away a lot of those hands-on things. They've taken home economics out of the school system, but I'm sorry, but homes still have to run. And there is common sense to a lot of that, and just like making a recipe, there's common sense to this that you pull the skills from that to other things in your life, and all of that's been taken out of the school systems, and it is sad. And I think we're now seeing the repercussions of it.
But I don't know, you're gonna have to go back to the schools to put that back in, but then if you go back to the schools, you're gonna have to go to the state to get them to put it back in.
Well,
I think they know that
they have started to put a lot of programs back in now. Of course, Salem, they have Prosser, and then, I know West Washington had some programs where they placed kids in, a field of interest.
Well, I know Prosser, we went down there a couple of years ago, and toured that down there, the county. And it's a great program.
It
It's
is.
a shame schools can't have it.
Problem is, it fills up. They've, a lot of kids have applied for certain things, and, so a lot of their classes filled up to the point to where they couldn't get that many in there.
Yeah.
So I think there's a need for that, here locally, even, if there was a training facility of some sort.
Whatever happened to the co-op that was over by, that was part of the West Washington school system? That
There's,
service, is
I
that
think
still?
they still.
there's still a co-op,
Yeah.
but it's, like I know my two boys were involved in that this past school year. So there's still a co-op between, it's mainly the, Patoka Lake, schools. So it's Springs Valley, West Washington, Orleans, Paoli. And I know they would take some of the kids from West Washington, go to Paoli for some of the FFA stuff, or those type of classes. They actually had confined feeding training programs, animal programs. Then West Washington did a CDL program there at school.
Yeah, that was really neat.
Because they had a lot of room, and I think there were 7 kids that graduated this past year that graduated high school with a CDL.
Yeah,
So as soon as they got out, they could go to
they
work.
could go into the workforce, yeah.
And I know my oldest son went into an electric apprenticeship. He's currently doing that right now.
That's at West Washington?
Yeah,
That's through this co-op?
yep.
They used to also have a co-op for people with some developmental issues.
Yeah, there was a different one, yes.
And I don't think that's available anymore.
It may not be, Blue River did some stuff like that.
Maybe that's
for a
what it
while,
was.
with people with, mental or physical handicaps. And they used to take them and work them in, different places.
Because the fact of the matter is, some of them are in the workforce.
Oh, yeah.
Will be in the workforce, and it's just, some of them, it's just a matter of some learning disabilities and things, and, I think there's getting to be a lack of that too, that's,
But I think a lot of the problems with the schools, and I know, and Todd can probably elaborate on this as well, but the problem was the state cut the funding. And, the funds just weren't there to provide those things like auto mechanics, and all that, so it kinda got cut out. But I think now the push is for a lot of that to come back in.
yeah, I think they're now
To the
seeing what's
schools.
what's happening.
Some of the challenges that I remember, and I went to West Washington, you could take some of the classes through the co-op. So there was, like if you were going to do healthcare or nursing or something like that, you could take some of those like classes like anatomy or medical terminology and things like that. But in regards to those life skills, if you're on like a academic honors track,
Yes.
you don't have room in your schedule for any life
No.
skill program. So even though I wanted to take home ec and I wanted to take these things, I couldn't take them because I wanted to.
It does depend on what track you're on, and you have to follow that track in order to get your diploma.
Yeah.
But see, they've even taken those classes out of like the middle school sector.
Yeah, and that's where I was
And
at least
I mean,
exposed to it in middle school.
To me, what
Yeah.
is wrong with providing that in the middle school sector
Nothing.
before you're ever getting into your core 40s and your, your college in classes? I don't know, there's just, I know there's kids that don't know how to, and I know they don't write checks anymore, but they don't know how to balance their accounts, they don't.
I do
just-
think that is something that is starting to be implemented back in, through certain classes. There's some business development classes that I know my boys took, and they had them do, one section of the year was on writing checks, balancing a checkbook. Actually even, playing with the stock market. They had a fake stock market where they bought stocks and sold, so it taught them some things
Some
like
general
that.
knowledge.
So I think that drive is starting to come back a little bit, but it hasn't probably fully been implemented yet. But I think that is kind of the push.
I wonder, if some of these skills, while it's nice to say like they should be back in school, I wonder if some of these skills maybe don't have to have a lot of funding. Maybe people in the community can come together and realize this is an issue and volunteer time to try to teach these sort of programs. And I don't know if that means being able to go to a lunch hour at school, or it means being able to do something after school or before. But I could see there being a community solution to some of these things to give kids the exposure that they otherwise.
I know kids don't know how to make change.
Cool.
There are a lot of
I
people
mean,
that don't know how to make change.
We deal with adults that don't know how to make change.
Yeah,
You're right about that.
Um,
yeah, it's bad.
I don't know,
Schools can only do so much. I put the majority of blame on parents.
mhm.
Yeah, it reminds me of a conversation I had with Steve Davison once when I was like, we should really be we should be funding pre-K and, sort of those kinds of conversations. And he said, at some point, what's the personal responsibility of the parents? And I think that same thing with our community. At what point do we keep saying, like, the state isn't doing this, and we just say, this is our community and we're going to take care of it? So I definitely think there's a personal responsibility when it comes to parents and kids, and I also think our community bears some responsibility as well.
Oh, I definitely think it's a lot on the parents, and I think a lot of times it's just easier to do it yourself as opposed to having your children do things. But it's kind of like this year I was graced with running the band fair booth and probably starting the football concessions for bands, since nobody's doing it right now. And my thing was, these kids need to be working. And the last person that did it, they were more geared towards, well, the parents need to do this. This is the band parents thing and they need to raise money. And my thinking was, why are these kids not in here? Kids can fry hamburgers.
Yeah.
Kids can do this stuff.
Yes.
So to me, when I get over there, those kids are going to be running this stuff too. They need to know this stuff too.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, why is
Which
it
is-
all on the parents to do everything?
Well, especially if they have multiple kids.
It's for their for their benefit. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, they need to learn how to do this stuff too. It's like, I'm not doing everything. These kids, they can, and they want to help. That's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
When you tell them that you've got to get over here and do it, they actually enjoy it. So, to a degree, yeah, sometimes it may not be easier to start with, to teach these kids things, but.
Well, and I think when you allow the kids to take ownership and to have their own agency, they're developing skills that they're going to have forever. When I went to, growing up and going to West Washington, I didn't have a lot of money for cheer and anything else that I did, and I had to work all of the concession stand. The more times you work the concession stands, the more money that you paid towards your uniform or whatever else, your shoes or whatever. And that was a way to actually level the playing field. So I could participate just as much as everybody else if I worked harder. I had to work harder, but that's
We're gonna
okay.
do that. We're gonna do that as a part of the football concessions too, because we're gonna have to start implementing fees. And some of the parents that have 3 or 4 kids in it, we know that they can't do it, and we're like, that's okay. We're just gonna ask you to work, an extra shift or something to help, and they're okay with that. That's the thing is, really, when you lay it out on the table to these kids, they're okay with that. It's like, let them do things.
Yeah, and fundraising opportunities,
Yes.
there's just a way to help even the playing field for everybody. And sometimes I think parents just want to cut a check because it's easier on them and then they don't have to do the time commitment, but it takes away the opportunity for some other kids to earn it.
Yes, they need to know what it is to earn what they need and what they want.
So you're saying we need to build better schools, more education, a better job force?
Oh, I think it's a lot of it's on the parents. I totally agree with that. And I'm not a perfect parent by any means, but I'm all for, kids need to, there's nothing wrong with your kids getting out of bed and doing something. And I'm all for my kids being lazy at times too. That's part of being a kid. You don't have to be an adult, while you're a kid, but, some of these kids, my daughter, the first semester of her high school year was during COVID, and because of the uncertainty of COVID, and my mother being, I think, 89 years old, and I was the only one in town to take care of her, I chose to keep my daughter home and have her do online classes. I honestly, COVID scared me, and my thinking was, if I give it to my mother and she doesn't live, I don't know if I can live with myself, because I didn't, it was bad there for a while. So when she started back into the school system, which she's not an online person. So that's one thing we found out, that she needs that face-to-face instruction. And she did fine, but of all the kids, they said there was only like 2 that actually finished all of the online classes. There was masses of kids that was doing online. And my daughter, and there was only like 2 other kids that actually finished it. So all those other kids were behind. The minute they went into that second semester of that school year, their first semester, they were already a whole semester behind. So it's like, obviously their parents didn't make them actually do the online schooling. That's what I said, so much of this is on the parents. You can't blame the kids for wanting to be kids and be lazy, because yes, kids are gonna be lazy, but
I think that also goes to socialization too. There are a lot of kids that were not socialized during COVID, so
yes,
they were either in school and taken out of school, or that was when they should have started school, and then there was having to wear a mask when you're in school with other little kids, and there's a lot of I think a lot of like social issues that could be, we may later see the ramifications of.
I think they're already seeing it.
Yeah.
The teachers say, I think they've seen it within the year. Afterwards, they were already seeing it, but.
You're right.
So I'm to his answer, no, it's not just because of the schools, and it's not just because our schools aren't good enough, and.
One of the things I do think about, like the role a community plays in kind of having a set of standards and expectations. Someone told me a story once about going to the city of Jasper. There's kind of in your mind, you kind of have an idea of what people who live in Jasper, like what they care about, or just like a sense of, they have an identity. And they were at a Walmart, or they saw somebody at a grocery store, and somebody didn't put their cart back into the cart spot. And some woman came from across the parking lot to say, you put that back. That is not how we are here. You put that cart back where it belongs. You're not leaving this parking lot without doing that. And I kind of, sometimes it seems like, you don't want to invade anybody's personal space. You don't want to push anything onto anyone. But there's a nice thing to be said for people who have pride in their community, and they expect everyone else to have a set of standards. And that reminds me of, there can be a set of moral standards for a community, and, it needs to be reinforced by everyone.
If you did that here, you may get shot.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. That's exactly what I was thinking about.
Totally different.
Because we can all now carry a gun.
That's right.
Totally.
Started that.
Totally different world, Jasper.
Anything else?
I have nothing else. I'll turn it back over to you, Phil.
Anybody have anything?
Good discussion.
What are we doing in 2 weeks?
Yes, in 2 weeks we'll be meeting again. I'm not for sure if Matt is going to be back by then, so we'll check. If Matt is not here, would you be okay with meeting in August instead of having the next meeting.
That'd be great,
Yeah, I think
because
that'd be
he,
better.
He needs to
it'd
be
be
here.
nice if he was here.
Yeah.
So we'll get a notice that it's
Yes,
15th.
yes, go ahead and, you know, schedule that for yourself, and then we will, confirm.
Sounds good.
Adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Back on the chain gang.
Back on the chain.
You are, Lisa?
Huh?
You are?
Sure.
Like, for real, or you?